So hello, this is my preview of what I've been working on during the last days and weeks. This is the Universal Avionics EFI890r, which is the multifunction display and its display control panel. I'm now flying an X-plane on my other screen, and I'm recording just the bottom screen, which is running the display unit, the control panel, and some default autopilot controller and altitude selector from Air Manager from Sim Innovations. So let's turn on the display now by the switch and explain. So here's the display. As you can see, we have no altitude information, no vertical, no altitude, no airspeed, no compass, as the air data computer and the altitude heading reference systems are turned off. So I will now power up the altitude heading reference system HIRS, which is running now. So we have the horizon working and the compass, and we are still missing the altimeter and the airspeed. Now here is the air data computer running and the display is fully on. So let's see what it does. Currently I'm just flying with my mouse in some old X-Plane 10 installation, so sorry for the horrible flying and the horrible maneuvers. So as you can see on the left side there is an airspeed indicator. If I speed up, the airspeed is rising. You can see some airspeed bugs, which is the VFE1. That's the flaps extension first position, maximum airspeed. And there's also the white bar from 120 knots down, which is the full flaps limiting speed. The other bug is the VYSE, which is the best rate of climb on single engine, as I'm flying a twin turboprop right now. All these reference speeds are of course configurable in the display options. You can see the VMC speed, which is the minimum controllable speed on one engine, and the stall speed in the clean configuration, which is currently 72 knots, the green band, and the stall speed in the landing configuration, which is something below 60, maybe 55. On the right side there is the altimeter. It's currently running in feet, but it can be switched to the meters, to the metric mode. Of course it's showing the altitude and it's showing the 10 seconds prediction by the green band. So now in 10 seconds we will be at 3,500 feet, for example. And the same is also for climbing. On the right bottom side there is the vertical speed indicator. It's a little bit unusual in this instrument because the needle and the vertical speed band, they are moving both, so this is quite specific for the Universal Avionics display, but this is how it should be, so I did it this way. After some time getting used to it, I find it pretty comfortable to fly with. In the middle there is the horizontal situation indicator. Currently it's showing only the heading and the pre-selected heading, the heading bug, and nothing else, but we will see many features which can be turned on this HSI. And the upper part is the attitude indicator. So we are now at 10 degrees pitch and 10 degrees bank to the right. It's pretty easy to understand. So now to some other features of this avionics unit. First of all, we will see the autopilot annunciator, the flight mode annunciator, yaw damper, flight director, and so on. So now I'm hand flying with everything switched off. So in this upper part of the instrument there are no indications. Now I will turn on the yaw damper, and I can see the yaw damper is running and I'm still flying manually. Now let's turn on the flight director. So the flight director is now on in the roll and pitch mode, but I'm still flying manually, so as you can see I'm desperately trying to catch the flight director, but the mouse flying is really crazy in X-Plane. So I'd better turn on the autopilot, which will follow the flight director for me. So I will press the AP button here, and now the autopilot is running. It's coupled to the left side, the yaw damper is on, and the active modes are roll, so it's maintaining the predefined roll to the left, and pitch is active, like 6 degrees of pitch maybe. I can turn on the heading mode by clicking the button. Now the heading mode is active, and the heading bug and the heading value are in magenta, which means they are active. Everything which is magenta is active on this unit, and the other colors are armed or standby. So now let's try some left turn with the heading. It's pretty easy. For the vertical, this is the same. I can turn on the vertical speed mode, and let's introduce some descent. Okay, so now we are descending, and we are still in the vertical speed, so it would keep descending until hitting the earth. And in order to level off, we need to set up the altitude selector, which is currently set for 4,000 feet, but I need to arm the altitude capture by clicking the Alt button. So now the altitude selector is armed, the vertical speed is active, and as soon as we reach 4,000, it will capture the altitude hold. So it will become A cell will be magenta. Here we are, altitude hold. Perfect. So now let's see some other display menus and display options of this unit. We will be using this display control panel for this screen. The leftmost knob is for the menus. So if I click once, I go into display menus. If I click one more, it's the options, and this is the exit. So on this left part, I can select various display modes. So now it's running in so-called 360 HSI mode, which means that we are showing the 360 horizontal situation indicator here. We can try the normal mode, which is quite nice. Now this is the normal mode, looking quite similar to maybe some Boeing display. So if I exit the menus, this is how it looks. Let's see some turning to the left. Maybe some climbing. Let's climb 5,000 again. Altitude selector is armed, and we are climbing pretty steeply for the small plane, so it's decelerating right now. Okay, so back to the 360 HSI. This is where we were before, and now let's see the map feature which I programmed today. First of all, I'll have to switch to the X-Plane and load some flight plan into the GPS. Okay. So flight plan. Activate. I'll have to turn left here. And switch on the 360 map mode. Let's set direct to some waypoint first. So this is the map. It's currently in amber, which means it's not active because the active mode is heading. But if I click nav, it should start following the route. Yeah. So the magenta is currently to the first waypoint, and then it will continue to the other waypoints as well. So this is the 360 map mode. The arc modes are very similar, but they are showing only some arc of this compass, not the full 360 circle. Let's see the options part. So first thing we have, maybe from the bottom, is baro units. Currently it's showing 1013 hectopascals, but I can toggle to inches of mercury, 2992, and back. The other thing is the flight director cross pointer, like this. I will exit the menu so you can see better. Okay, so it looks like maybe 737 right now, and it also works in the normal mode, which we can show. Okay, so here's the normal mode with the cross in the middle. Let's go back to the V bar, which I like better, and let's go to the map mode again. This is the D pitch, is the degrees of pitch. So now we are at 1.7 degrees above the horizon, but if we start climbing in the VS mode, yeah, the pitch is rising. It's now 3.7, 3.84 degrees and rising, and I will set some altitude here. Yep. So this was the D pitch and off. T80, you can toggle between the static air temperature and total air temperature here on the left, so it's pretty easy. 5 degrees static, 8 degrees total, very easy. Now regarding the wind, currently we have no wind. I will have to set up some wind in X-Plane, so I go to weather, and maybe like 20 degrees, sorry, 20 knots of wind will be good for us. So now the wind is calculated with the crosswind and with the tailwind component. So we have 2 knots, 3 knots crosswind and 23 knots tailwind. If we start turning here, we'll see the crosswind is increasing, the headwind is, the tailwind is decreasing. So this is very useful for approach and landing, because you can see your crosswind immediately, but you can toggle it to the vector mode, which is maybe easier to read, showing 238 degrees, 24 knots. And let's go back to the XY display. Okay, next thing is track pointer. If I turn on the track pointer, now this yellow symbol is showing my track, which is my angle towards the ground. So there is some drift caused by the crosswind. So we are flying on heading 118, 117, and we have track maybe 110 or something like this. I will now turn this off again. You can turn on the heading line, which is just simple line connecting the heading back with the airplane symbol. Of course it's magenta because it's active. We are in the heading mode. If I go back to the nav mode, now the nav is active again, and this is cyan, as it is not active. And the last thing we have in the options are the V speeds. We can select the V1 speed. Currently it's off, but we can increase it to some crazy values, which will be ridiculously high for this airplane. But if we want V1 speed 100 knots, so here's the VBAC. It makes no sense to set this while we are airborne, but if we want it for some reason on the ground, then we can set it right here. And I will turn it off again. Yeah. So this was the menu. And now let's see some navigation features. I will go to the 360 HSI mode just to declutter the display. So now let's see what we have here. We will use the middle knob to cycle through the primary HSI, the secondary HSI, the primary RMI and the secondary RMI. On the primary HSI we can have WAR1 or LOC1, GPS1, GPS2 or LOC2. The same on the secondary, and here are the RMIs which can show the bearing pointers to the various stations. So on the primary HSI, let's select GPS1, and it's now showing the GPS deviation from the next waypoint. Now let's see how the VUR looks. So here we are in the VUR1, and I have tuned 112.6, and we were still in the nav mode, so now it started to intercept the localizer, which I don't want, so I will select the heading mode. Now the heading is active, the VOR is only in this cyan color, so I can try to rotate this thing so it's working like a pretty much normal HSI in any other airplane. It's pretty easy to use. I can select the VOR1 also on the right side, or maybe some localizer too, which I won't be able to show you right now because I don't have the other, or do I? Yeah, I do. Okay, so let's try to tune on some other station here on my NEF2 radio. Oh, this was the NAF1, sorry, wrong unit. I'm not used to this plane. Here we have currently the localizer for the Prague Airport runway 24 tuned on our NAF2 radio, and it's shown on the secondary HSI. Currently it's showing no localizer because we are out of the coverage, but if we come closer to the airport we will have the localizer working here. I will turn this off to save some display space. Now for the bearing pointers, we can have VOR1, so it's currently showing towards the first station, which is the Oscar Kilo Lima. It's on bearing 350 and going to the west. We can use ADF1, which is showing on this bearing. ADF2 is currently not tuned in this airplane. I have only one ADF radio, but it works as well. And there is the GPS showing towards the GPS waypoints. So let's have VOR1 here, and on the other RMI we can have maybe ADF1. So pretty big choice of things to display at once. Now it becomes a little bit cluttered with this many things displayed, but if you need this for some reason, why not? I will turn them off. The third important part is the baro knob. By clicking right or left we can increase or decrease the barometric reference, the QNH. Now we should have 1013 here. And by this button RADA we can cycle through our minimums. Currently there are no minimums displayed on this unit, but if we click once, we have the radio altimeter minimums of 200 feet, and we can adjust them by clicking here and changing the value to maybe 220 for the ILS runway 24. And if I click once more, we have the decision altitude. So let's select 1700 here, maybe 50 or 20. So we have the minimums set. I will start descending here to the altitude 1500 feet. I will select throttle idle not to overspeed this plane. And you will see the radio altimeter here once we are below 2500 RA. So what else? We have some other buttons. The weather and terrain are currently not working.